celebrating the power of possibility.
I'm Frank Robinson, and I believe anything is possible.
This is Anything is Possible. I'm Haller in Hilton Hill. These are great stories about great people whose lives prove that anything is possible. My honor to have joining us today a very distinguished person in my life, and somebody that I consider a mentor and a friend and a brother. Frank Robinson, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Haller, for having me.
First of all, I want to thank you right off the bat. Just watching you through the years, and I've known of you for 35 years, right? I get the privilege of calling you a brother as well, but you don't know this. I would watch you as you moved and you worked in the community, and the way that you conducted business, the way you carried yourself, it continues to be really impressive, and it inspired me to want to try to do and to be my best. So thank you for being that kind of an example.
Thank you, Haller, and I'm really surprised that you have observed me, but I try to carry myself in a respectful way, in a way whereby young kids, especially young black boys, would be proud of me and try to implicate their lives with the life I've lived, because coming up as a black young man in the South, I had some difficult times, but I always said that merit, diversity, and empathy, especially empathy, because empathy basically talks about how you care about other people.
Right.
I'm just, try to do the best I can and live the best life I can, and I really try to be an example for young black men.
Let's go back to the beginning of your life. Your roots are deep in North Alabama.
Yes.
Where were you born?
I was born right outside Decatur in Lawrence County, a little town called Cortland, Alabama.
What was that like?
There was an experience in Cortland, Alabama, whereby my father had a conflict with some of the officers there.
What happened?
My dad is a big man. I mean, he is over 6 feet, probably 240, 50 pounds. My mom is a small lady. I didn't realize how beautiful my mom was until I maybe got 18 or 19, because I just didn't see that in her. But she was a fantastic looking woman. And apparently someone made a pass at her, and my dad went off, and that didn't go too well. So we had to leave, and they got us out of there.
So they ran your dad out of town?
Yeah, my dad couldn't come back to Alabama. In fact, he went to Tennessee because we had
Were they threatening to kill him?
Yes.
Who were they?
Basically, the powers in the community, because back then you did not, I guess, fight an officer of the a sheriff or whatever it was. But my dad was just that type person. He was just, especially if you mess with my mother, he was
right.
he was just that type person, and he just went off.
So what was it like being in Tennessee 70 plus years ago?
Everything was segregated, as you probably know. Back then, we went to an all-black school, and Jameson Elementary School in Harriman, Tennessee. And once we graduated, we went to a school in Rockwood High School called Calma High School. Now, we were a close-knitted family, because back then the neighborhoods were segregated. All black folks lived together and all white folks lived together. But it was a good time, because basically the community came together and built a fence around young black boys and young black girls at that time. So we graduated from Jameson Elementary School, and there was one school in the county, and also in Morgan County. that where black kids went. It was a race about maybe 30 or 40 miles. We were the first people to get on the bus because the bus driver lived in Harriman, Tennessee. We'd catch the bus, we'd get on the bus around 5:30 in the morning, and we would go from there to Oakdale, which was close around us. And we would leave there and go to Albert Springs, come back through Kingston, Blair, and some other little towns. So we would get on the bus around 5:30. We'd get to school around 9.
Wow.
Yeah. So basically what we did, we went to school at dark, and we got back pretty much at dusk dark because we were the first ones on the bus and we were the last ones to get off.
3.5 hour bus ride.
Pretty much, yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was. And I look back on it and I say the same thing. I said, that's crazy. but back then, it was standard operating procedure. It didn't phase us that much. That
was all you knew.
Yeah, that's all we knew. Yeah.
Possibility powered by Covenant Health, Home Federal, and the Knoxville News Sentinel.
Now you can listen while you're on the go with Anything is Possible, the podcast.
What was your father doing in Harriman?
My father, he was a janitor at the Kingston Steam Plant and a janitor at Oak Ridge. But he was wounded in the Navy. And he had kind of a wound back at the back of his brain. And so he was hospitalized at Johnson City Veterans Center. I think I was in probably the 7th or 8th grade. And he was there for until I was graduating that senior year. He died. My dad died at Johnson City Veterans Hospital. It was a difficult time for us, to be honest with you, for my mom and my brother, because we loved him, but he couldn't do anything for us because of the brain injury that he had in World War II.
So you're a young man growing up in a segregated community. Your mother's a domestic worker. Your father is relatively disabled, and then you're trying to go to school. Mm-hmm. 3.5 hour bus ride, that's just insane. And then, but then your father dies right as you're coming of age.
Right as I was coming out of high school. I think I was in the 12th grade, getting ready to graduate when he died. And it was a difficult time for us.
So what did you think your life was going to be at that point? That's a lot of odds stacked against you just right out of the gate.
Yeah, you're probably right. I didn't think about it that way, but we were a very close-knit community in the sense that when the community knew that my father was in the hospital, and I'm probably in the 6th grade or 7th grade or something like that, the community kind of built a fence around us. And the fathers in the community took a special, a special effort to look out for me, my brother. And Ms. Dolinger, who was the principal of the high school, he took a special thing. I think it was a special thing to me, and tried to give me some insights on what I could be. And so, although we were poor, I didn't know we were poor. I mean, really. We rode the bus 3 hours, but I didn't think about that we were riding the bus 3 hours. And that's the kind of, I guess, vision that they gave to us on what we could be. So he always wanted me to go to college. Mr. Stolinger did. He said, you're a good student. And I did have pretty good grades. I mean, they wasn't fantastic. So what I did, he set up a thing, because a system whereby I could maybe reach out to some of the HBCUs, and he suggested I reach out to Tuskegee, and I did. And I got into Tuskegee, and it was probably one of the best experiences I ever had in my life, because the whole world opened up to me, man. I was down there, and...
Do you remember the first day you arrived at Tuskegee Institute?
I do.
How'd you feel?
I do. Like I said, the whole world opened up to me. I never seen anything like that in my life, because Tuskegee, it was something that, coming up in a little city like Harriman, Tennessee, and going to this little school in Rockwood, you wouldn't expect to see that. I saw a lot of professionals, and the most impressive thing about me when I got to Tuskegee was this: Chappie James, who was part of the Tuskegee Airmen.
Yeah.
When I got there, and I didn't have money, so they put us in special barracks. And I mean barracks, they were military barracks, because it was quite a few of us young boys, talking about playing football, and I wasn't that big anyway, still not that large. But he impressed the heck out of me, man, really. Because when I guess I was there for about a month or two, and this aircraft, this I think it was an F-15, a Phantom, flew over the campus and went up in the air, and everybody was hollering, "That's Chappie James, I didn't know who Chappie James was. But it opened up a lot of visions on what I could be.
Yeah, you got to be in an environment where you saw, especially black men, in an elevated position, dignified, professional, well-educated, which was against the stereotype or the expectation that society had at that point.
Absolutely. And it opened my eyes to, although Mr. Ling had talked to me about the future, it opened my eyes to a future. It opened my eyes to what I could be, not what I am, but what I can be if I worked hard after it. And I did.
Opened my eyes to what I could be, not what I am. I love that. So, as you're there, what did you decide to study in this wonderful environment at Tuskegee?
I studied my first 2 years at Tuskegee. I studied engineering.
Why engineering?
Mr. Olinger kind of pushed me towards that because I was pretty good in math. At least I thought I was pretty good at math until I got to Tuskegee, and derivative calculus kind of kicked my butt for a while there. But that's what I majored in my freshman year, and it was a good decision that I made. But in the 60s, man, there were a lot of things going on.
Yeah, the world
was just
churning.
It was turning upside down, and I got involved with some protest marches, and we marched in Alabama. Naturally, we marched in Georgia, in LaGrange. Where they had the I remember this very very well. They had the when you go in the bus station, they had the colored signs and the white sign.
Yeah.
So our plan was we would go down here, and when we get to the bus station, we would go into the white side, and so that's what we did. I think it was about 20 of us, and we went into the white side, and they wouldn't serve us, and about 15 minutes, about 100 policemen showed up, and they decided to get us out of there. But it was a pretty interesting time back then. My mom was she heard about it and she was scared to death because I'm her baby son. I can understand that now. She was afraid that something drastic was happening to me because it was already three young men had been killed down there marching and doing things like that. But it was a very interesting time in the 60s.
Well, if you think about your father getting run out of Alabama, the temperature is already hot.
Yeah.
And then here his son is standing up for what he believes in, just like your father stood up for your mother. And you could get caught up in that very easily while trying to get an education, while trying to figure out the future.
Yeah, it was a quite interesting time. And I'll tell you an interesting thing that made me really feel good about my country. We were going to do a march off campus to Tuskegee, the town Tuskegee, because they had this big federal statue of a federal soldier down there, and still the bus stations and everything was segregated. So we went to march down there. The lead, I was a freshman, but the lead of that march was Fred Stone. And I was telling my wife about it, and she looked him up. She found out where he was, but Fred Stone, he was a senior. And so that week we decided we were going to march downtown and we were going to integrate the bus station. So we would start to march down there. And by the time we got off campus, Navy, Alabama finest with the billy sticks and they flew into us and pretty much, not pretty much, they kind of beat the heck out of us. You know, I broke my wrist and stuff like that.
They broke your wrist?
Yeah, but the Tuskegee took care of that. But the next Friday, I think it was a week after that, Fred Stone got us together again. And this senior from Chattanooga, what was her name? I forget her name, but she was this beautiful bronze lady. Boy, she was, I don't know if I was infatuated with her or I was just concerned about the fire in her stomach because she had both, man. So we started marching again after a week later. And a very interesting thing happened, Halloran. A very interesting thing happened. We got maybe off campus, maybe 100 yards off campus. And about I don't know how many, 5 or 6 carloads of Auburn students, white students, came in and integrated with us and grabbed our arm. Yeah, Auburn students, white students. And the very interesting thing happened. Although the cops were there, they opened up. Apparently somebody told them, let them march. But that was the very interesting thing. I think, and that showed that, you know, that America is really America because these students didn't have to do that. And I'm pretty sure if their parents had found out that they had done that, it'd probably been
Probably, but they were willing to stand with you.
They were willing to stand with it. But we marched that day. We marched that day.
Now, take us with you with Anything is Possible, the podcast. Stream new episodes weekly wherever you get your podcasts.
So you're in the middle of the whole civil rights movement and evolution
Absolutely.
in Alabama.
In Alabama.
In the 60s. You finish school, and then what?
Let me go back. My second year, when I was a junior, and I went to go back to school. UT was being integrated, and I decided that Theodis Robinson was the first black person to go to UT. I decided I want to go to UT, and we talked about it for a long time, and I decided I wanted to integrate UT. Since Theodis was there, it had been integrated. So I went over there at University of Tennessee, and it was a pretty difficult time over there too, because it was just being integrated, and here you are, this black student with all these white kids around you, and you had the desks in front of you were empty on both sides, you and behind you, so you were kind of isolated there. But Mary and I decided to get married because she had went to Washington and she was coming back. I've known my wife since she were in diapers, and she's known me since I was in diapers. But I was at the University of Tennessee and was in ROTC, ROTC, because I was in ROTC at Tuskegee. And I got drafted.
Little war was going on called Vietnam.
Vietnam War. I got drafted, man. And and I was a draftsman. I was a draftsman at TVA because I had the engineering experience. And Bevan Brown, who was the branch supervisor, I remember he was tore up, man. He was really hot about me getting drafted. He said, but I did. I got drafted, and I spent 3 years in Vietnam, 3 years in the military, and a year and some months in Vietnam. I was in the Vietnam War, and that was a hell of an experience, I tell you.
Wow, we're just on the front end because you accomplished so much professionally. At the point at which you get drafted, what were you feeling emotionally before you got to Vietnam?
Well, I shouldn't have been drafted, to be honest with you.
Really?
No, I shouldn't have been drafted because I was a full-time student at University of Tennessee, and also Mary and I just got married. But anyway, I got drafted anyway, and a friend of mine also at TVA. We were the first black kids in water management at TVA, and but we got drafted, and I was angry, to be honest with you, but you gotta go, So I went, and turned out, you know, I was put in a special unit, 82B20 in my MOS, because I made some pretty high scores, I guess, on the entrance exam when you got there, and so I was a surveyor, a certified surveyor in the military, and when I got to Vietnam, I was put in combat units because they needed to lay out landing fields for C-130s and caribous and all that stuff. And naturally, I was also a combat engineer, as they say, a combat engineer. And we had some firefights, but now that was a very difficult time in my life, really, to deal with that, because you know. It was difficult, because here I was, and here were many young black boys in Vietnam, and we were fighting two wars, because believe it or not, Vietnam was the first time that you had an integrated army in war. And naturally, the Vietnamese, the South-North Vietnamese, they played up on that. They would play loudspeakers on, asked them, why are you black boys fighting us when you should be trying to get your country straight? So, and there were a lot of conflicts, not only between, naturally we had firefights with the Viet Cong and the North Vietnamese troops, but there were a lot of animosities, a lot of strange relationships, strong relationships with the black. You know, we kind of stayed to ourselves, and the white troops kind of stayed, because that was the 60s. Remember, hell was going on in the country, and we knew about it. And so it was a difficult time, I guess, for everybody, really.
Let's take a break. In the second part of our interview, I want to further explore that and what your life became after Vietnam.
Okay.
This is Anything is Possible. My guest is Frank Robinson.